England versus France, Six Nations 2021 at Twickenham. Now this game has a lot of pressure on both teams. The France is looking to beat England and potentially win a Grand Slam, and England, having lost two of their last three matches, they really wanted to, including a historical loss to Scotland in at home in the first round of the Six Nations. The England's under a lot of pressure to perform in this game, and if they had lost to France this game, then things are not going to look good on Eddie Jones' part. And you can tell Eddie Jones was under a lot of pressure in this game. At one point in the first half, Eddie Jones came down from the coach's box and stood on the sideline and started yelling instructions at the players and applauding Owen Farrell kicking conversions, and only to get told to go back to the coach box. But yeah, England was under a lot of pressure coming into this game, and they were being criticised for being out of shape. A lot of their players play for the Saracens, who didn't who the team got relegated, so they didn't really get any game time due to the pandemic. And yeah, and England was being criticised for just making pointless kicks in their previous games, and also their forwards discipline was really poor in the previous games as well. So coming into this game, Eddie Jones actually made a few pretty big changes. The couple of really big ones is that he's decided to start George Ford for the full 80 minutes of the game. So George Ford at 10, Owen Farrell at 12, and then they had I think Elliot was on the bench. Yes. So that's a big change for the. I think there was few big backline changes as well in England, but those two I think are the two critical ones, because Elliot, I think it's Dailies. Actually, his name actually escaped my mind. He's been he's being pointed out by many of the English pundits that have been unfit. So Eddie Jones put him on the bench, and I think the big change is having George Ford starting the team. That really made a big difference for the England performance. So if I was to overall to look at how England performed overall, they really tidied up a lot of the discipline issues from previous games, and the four pack really made quite a lot of critical turnovers to get penalties for England to put, and also to save England from desperate situations when the French had the ball. So the forwards really stepped up this game for the England. The backs, having George Ford on the field, really made the backline plays a lot more smoother, and it also it just from the looks of things that George Ford just worked a lot better with Ben Youngs for some reason, whereas when Ben Youngs and Owen Farrell are playing as a pair, it just looked like neither players thinks that the other player is going to make decision on which way which way the ball should go, or how the next few phases should be played. So either players were kind of looking at each other for the other person to make decisions on what to do. But when George Ford is on the field, he takes that kind of awkwardness out of the Ben Youngs and Owen Farrells. So Ben Youngs will just give the ball to Ford, and Ford will decide where to direct the traffic. And then also it gives time for Owen Farrell to manage his own game a little bit. And Owen Farrell has been criticised as well recently for not being very disciplined, and being a bit of out of shape as well. Not out of shape as in physically, but just being not really game fit. He hasn't been playing much rugby due to the relegations for the Saracens. So yeah, just having Farrell's out in the center, it gives him more time to do what he wants to do, and then also takes a lot of that decision making off him, so that he can just focus on a few things that he needs to get right for the team instead of being overwhelmed with decisions that you can clearly see in the previous couple rounds where he was kind of like hoping that Ben Youngs will make the decision on how to, which way the ball should go for the next, for when the English had the ball. So it was big changes for the English team. Overall, they played really much better than previous weeks. And also having George Ford on the field gave England extra space. I wouldn't say extra space, extra option to kick the ball. So the English kicking game was just like way better, much more clinical, and just having just being able to they basically a lot of times the forwards were able to turn the ball over and then resulted in a great kick from the backs, and just the French was just being pushed back again and again just by England's sublime kicking game. It was way better than it was in the previous weeks. So let's get into the details of the actual game. The French came out right away with a brilliant piece of play. There was just hands right from kickoff. And a minute in, the French were able to get the ball and just quick hands to the sideline. There was a bit of overlap. The winger ran down the sideline. The fullback came up to cover the winger. The French winger just chipped the ball over the fullback, and Antoine Dupont, the French god himself, picks up the ball, scores the first try 1 minute into the game, right? And at this point, people were just, you're thinking, geez, which English team's going to turn up? Is it going to be the one that we know that they're going to be good, or is it going to be another, again where England just fall apart, like the Scottish game? And then Matthew Joubert converts the conversion 7-0, 2 minutes into the game. So England obviously look a little bit rattled, kind of put themselves together and try to do a counter, try to get a counter try on the French. Sure enough, 9 minutes into the game, pretty much a very similar kind of play where England had the ball, where they had the forwards just running in crashing down in the middle of the field, soaking up defenders, and then there was an overlap out on the wing. England spread the ball out. George Ford identified the space, sort of cut out pass straight to Anthony Watson on his 50th Test match, puts the ball down. Happy days. Anthony Watson, job done. And Owen Farrell converts the kick, 7-all, 10 minutes into the game. And from there going forward, there was a lot of penalties. The English forward really show that they have learned their lessons from the previous games, and this is a portion of the game where you really started to show. There was 2 full-on penalties on the breakdown against the French, and England were able to get ahead with two penalty kicks with Owen Farrell, 13 points to 7. And then the French started to kind of regather a little bit. On the 29th minute, this is just one of the most sublime set piece plays from the French. A line out move by the French. The ball went over the line out as planned, and I think Antoine Dupont might have been the one that gathered the ball as the ball is overthrown on purpose, and then the French did a few loops in the center, and then there was just created a +1 out on the wing, and what's his name? Let's have a look. Damien Penaud scores it onto the try line, and before this, there was a penalty for kick as well, so it was 13-10 going into this French play, and it was just one of those set pieces you can tell that the French been working on, something that they've just put it on the whiteboard and it's just like, this is what we're gonna do and we're gonna score, and it just worked out perfectly against the English. And at this point, the French is back up to 17 points to 13, after the conversion being successful. And then that's the end result in the first half, basically. And coming out of the second half, the English discipline really seems to be off a little bit. And then this is where you were that I guess every English fan will be thinking, oh, this is going to be the same as last week against the Welsh, where the discipline starts falling off when your fitness doesn't keep up. So yeah, the French got a penalty right around the 50-minute mark, and then the penalty was converted 20 points to 13. And then not long, and obviously there was a lot of, you can tell that the England forwards were under a bit of pressure to not give away stupid penalties. And they really worked hard. About 5 minutes later, on 54th minute, the forwards were able to get a penalty for the England team, and Owen Farrell converted the penalty, 16 points to 20. And from the 54th minute to the 70th minute, to about 70th minute, there was a lot of back and forward. And this is where you can really see that England's kicking game starts to, it's just the French at this point is really trying to put the nail in the coffin, and just again and again and again, the England were just rescued by the forwards turning the ball over. Unlike last week, where the forwards were just giving away penalties, giving away 3 points at this critical period of the game against the Welsh. The England was really just trying to nail it down and try to again, and the ball was turned over, and just England's kicking game was just absolutely, destroying the French. There was just there was some devastating kicks where, Elliot, I think, what's his name? Not Elliot. Johnny May were able to do a 50-meter kick from his own 22, and he rolled out inside the French 22. It was just really, really, really nice plays from the England team, and really being able to diffuse a lot of the pressure that the French has been put on them. And sure enough, England, around the 72nd, 73rd minute, were able to apply some of their own pressure on the French team. There was a bit of, they were getting really, really close to try line, and the forwards, they had a full-on penalty at the 40-meter mark, and at this point they were 4 points behind. And there were about 6 minutes left in the game. So instead of going for a penalty kick, which is kickable by Farrell, he's not going to miss a kick like that from 40 meters out. And instead of going for the kick, they decided to go for the try, which they had a line out come in around 10 meters out from the try line, and there was a bit of pick and run. They just kept it on in the forwards, pick and drive, and eventually Itoje saw a massive opening. The French forwards were just all on the ground. They were just really quick, fast and quick balls for England, and a bunch of the French forwards were just on the ground and not able to get up in time. Itoje quickly recognizes the space, picked up the ball, crashed over for the try, and that was, Mario Itoje was criticized last game for giving away a lot of penalties, and that's kind of him, redeeming himself from his, subpar performances from the previous weeks. And that put the score 21-20. Owen Farrell, as normal, reliably gets the conversion 23-20. So at this point, there was about 3 minutes left in the game, and if the French could potentially get a draw and try to beat Wales for just winning the Six Nations, but if a draw would not grant France a Grand Slam. So at this point, it's okay, what are we gonna do? France kind of have to score a try to try to secure that Grand Slam. So there was a bit of a weird confusion that happened. So at halfway line, there was a bit of a rock at halfway line, and the referee blew the whistle. This was 2 minutes left, and again the blew the whistle, full-on penalty for holding onto the ball for England, and you can see all the English players were just celebrating. Johnny May was just off his head, cheering, screaming, and then the referee had looked at the video, and he realized he made a wrong decision. It was actually the other way around. The England player was trying to play the ball on the ground. And then the referee goes, "Oh, okay, sorry guys, I made the wrong decision," and he reverses the penalty. And this is where if you're a French fan, you will be like, oh, if you're an English fan or French fan, you will just be like, okay, this could be controversial. If you're an English fan, this could be, you know, like front page things, front page news in the newspaper the next day. And, and so he reverses the penalty. And this is where you have 2 minutes left. The French the French kicks the ball out around the 22-meter line. Lionel comes in, and there was a few phases later. Probably 30 seconds left. You're looking like, the French looking a bit dangerous. They're 22 meters out. Any kind of penalty would result in a draw, at least a draw. And then, the French was just looking at, I guess, kind of playing it tight, trying to look for advantage, look for a bit of a penalty. And then Antoine Dupont try to pick up the ball off the ruck, and he knocks the ball on. And then the English players jumped on the ball, turned the ball over, and then as the ball kind of rolled out to the English side, the siren went, the clock ticked over to 80, and then they kicked the ball out. And that's the end of that. It was a big sigh of relief for all the English fans. Big sigh of relief for Eddie Jones. They still shows, despite all the talks, that the French is the best team in the world. England really, really stepped up and redeemed themselves in this game against France. I mean, France looked really, really good on the field. Their set pieces, their backline plays was just incredibly good. And England just really lifted their game and did what they do well all these years, in recent years, off with their kicking game. And they really just, showed that they're one step ahead of the French team in that regard. And the England forwards really tidied up their plays. Yeah, I think Eddie Jones would be very, very happy with that result. Beating the French, the favourites this year's winner to win the Six Nations this year, with a close comeback win. So, yeah, that's the end of the review for this game, guys. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like what I do, subscribe, post a comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.